Hi guys, I'm Emily, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about living life with an open heart. And I just tuned in to my higher self and spirit and asked what I should share about in this video. And I heard a guide say, share about living with an open heart. And I was like, that's beautiful. But I actually have no idea what I'm going to say. So I'm just handing this over to spirit and my higher self and seeing what wants to be shared from my heart about living with an open heart. So I guess I could start with that this I don't feel like I live with an open heart all the time, but I would say that this is my one of my highest intentions is to live life from the heart. And it's been a real journey to get to the point that I am right now with living in the heart. And I feel like it's an infinite journey of opening more and more to love, opening more and more to who and what we really are, which is love. And I feel like part of the human experience, especially at this time on earth, is really about learning how to stop living in the head, living in the mind, and really taking this journey from here to here, which is not an easy journey, and it really asks us to do a lot, to confront a lot within ourselves, and to change some very deep patterns and habits that we were taught, that we have been living in for many lifetimes, not just this one. And there are many that are feeling the call on the planet to do this at this time, which is amazing and just makes my heart so happy that, we're in this new time on earth, and it's not an easy time to be here by any means, but we are having this global awakening to heart centered consciousness and waking up from the dream, the spell, the nightmare that we have been kind of co dreaming and co creating together, which has really been based upon these flimsy and faulty beliefs of separation, of lack, scarcity, um, fear. We've been living through an epoch of time on earth where the dominant frequency and the dominant, I guess, constructs that have been creating our shared reality have been based upon fear. And, whenever we have a belief, like a really deeply held belief in separation, there's going to be fear present, because to believe that we could be separate from each other, from source, from God, from love, from abundance, joy, all of these things that are our true nature, to believe that we could be separate from those things is, of course, going to engender fear, and it's going to bring an experience and a version of reality which is not going to be that fun. But that's part of this universe, we get to experience it all. We get to explore in whatever way that we desire to, and we have been endowed the free will to explore light and consciousness in whatever way delights us and feels relevant to us. And God, source, is not going to intervene with our free will, because God, source, wants us to be as it is. It's made us in the image and likeness of itself, and it's completely free. There's no limitation to source, to God. God is infinite in its potential, and so are we. And so, God isn't going to intervene in our creations, our explorations, because that would be to limit us. And God doesn't have any interest in limiting us. And I feel like this is where some confusion comes in about why God lets, bad things happen. Well, first of all, nothing is bad in the eyes of God. In the eyes of God, everything just is an expression of itself and its infinite potential. And because God knows who and what we truly are, which is an infinite, joyous, loving being that has no limitations, even when we create experiences in dualistic realities like on earth that, are bad to our human ego, God doesn't see those situations as bad. Of course, God would never want us to suffer, but the truth is that no matter what hardship or what limiting experience we're creating and having an experience of, the deepest part of us is actually not being affected by that creation, even if it's like the most awful, dark, demonic, crazy, experience. The truth of who we are isn't even touched by that creation. The truth of who we are is forever resting in deep peace and deep love and deep connection to God. And that tie can never be severed. And so, we have dimensions of our being which are exploring and creating and having experiences. And yeah, we have the free will to explore whatever we desire to. And so, coming back to living with an open heart, for me, living with an open heart was actually finding my way back to that place where I connect to God, finding my way back within my own consciousness, within my own being, to that connection point to God, to Source, to my true self, to my higher self, where I have a direct connection to God. And, I feel like this is like it's like the essence of who we are. It's this, the source of our being, and it's still differentiated, like it's still unique in its own way, but it directly interfaces with God, and therefore it rests in complete peace and joy and love and abundance and all of those other really high frequency emotions. Not that it even has emotions at that level, emotions are a very human experience, but the frequency of our essence is, it's a reflection of God. So it's very high frequency, it's completely unlimited, it's infinite, and that's who we really are. And for me, living from the heart was finding my way back to that place within my own consciousness. And it wasn't an easy road, but my life, like the first 2.5 decades of my life, were really dark and really, I would describe hellish. Like I was like pretty much in constant fight or flight. I constantly felt unsafe. I didn't want to be here. I had suicidal ideations, and life just felt like utterly pointless to me because I didn't believe in God. Like I didn't grow up in a religious or a spiritual family. I grew up in a very materialistic family that, like, just felt really shallow. And so I got programmed with all of those beliefs and conditioned in that way. And life just felt very empty and like void of meaning and purposeless, and actually like a cruel joke a lot of the time because I was in so much pain, which a lot of that pain I'd carried forward from my soul from past lives, which created a childhood which was really chaotic and unstable and dark and traumatic. And so But that really invited me to, awaken and to start asking some deeper questions and to really question my reality, myself, my identity, my culture, like all of these things that like just felt like truth to me because that's what I'd been like that was the bubble that I grew up in. I started to question those assumptions and um yeah, essentially like my whole reality started falling apart because I started realizing that things that I had held true my whole life were actually like lies and weren't true. And like I could talk about that for hours, probably days even. But yeah, that started my awakening in my early 20s, and it's just been, over a decade now of like undoing and deconditioning myself from all of these ideas, all of these beliefs that, yeah, were really quite painful for me. And through that, I have done so much healing and really um, like found my way back to who I really am, like who I am beyond this human character, who I am beyond my mind, and who I am beyond my thoughts. And that has been completely life changing. And it's just brought me to like what it feels like to the feet of God, because I feel like my true self rests at the feet of God. Not that God has feet, but like I feel like this place inside of me, like it is so intimately connected with God. And it's been through like remembering this connection and remembering God's love for me and like the majesty and the royalty and the magnificence of God and of me, because I am a reflection of God. This is just, it's completely changed my perception of myself, my perception of life, and my perception of reality. And it's still, a forgetting and remembering. The human experience has so many temptations in it that tempt the ego, that, it kind of like pulls us back into the fray, and we get lost. But it's like a spiral, and every time we're tempted by something within our ego, really all that's happening is we're being asked to look at another piece of our false self that is still getting hooked by something in this smoke and mirrors physical reality that is pulling us back into um, an illusion and like a false sense of there's love here for me or there's fulfillment here for me in this physical world, when there really isn't. Because love and fulfillment cannot be found in physical matter. Love and fulfillment are found in our true nature, in our connection to God. And so we get tempted and, fall into habits of seeking outside of ourselves, only to end up, you know, remembering, oh, it's not found here. I have to I have to let love in. I have to come back to myself. I have to come back to God, and I have to remember who I am and stop seeking out here. So that's a little bit about my journey of finding my way back to my heart. And I feel like the heart is our portal to who we really are, to our soul, to our spiritual self. And it's like there's like a bridge here where we can remember who we are. And um yeah, like what brings us joy, what makes us come alive, what fills our heart with love. All of these things are such cues and hints as to how to find our way back to who we really are. And there's so much more I can share, and I will be sharing that. But this is just a little bit around how I've found my way back to myself and how I've found my way to living with an open heart and, finding your way back to your true self, like the self with a capital S, and your essence, this place where you connect with Source, with God. This naturally just releases so much fear because, as I was saying before, fear comes from the belief that we're separate from God, we're separate from each other. But as we discover who we really are, we come back to this awareness of unity consciousness, or just unity, which is, the truth of this universe is that we're all one, we're all connected, and we're one with God. It's like we're in the mind of God, we're God's creation, we're God's child, and we're so loved and we have everything. We've been given everything. Like we've truly been made infinite, just like God is. And so coming back to your essence reawakens this remembrance of who we are in our infinite, eternal expression of self, and that abolishes fear. Fear can't persist in this deeper awareness of self. And so naturally, this just invites this like blossoming of the heart and this ease and this peace and the hungry ego that's like looking to fill this void, because the ego itself can't be connected to God, because the ego is actually just like a construction of thoughts. It's not like a real entity, it's just a thought system. And so it can't know a connection to God because it's actually not real. It's just based in thought. Only our true self, our essence, our soul is in connection to God. So we have to, actually live out of the mind and sink deeper into self, deeper into who we really are, in order to experience, um, yeah, experience the unity, the love, the everything, our inheritance, our divine inheritance, which is there always waiting for us to remember and reclaim and re-embody and expand. And this is what Jesus was teaching us, is that we're not mortal, we're not finite, we're not this flesh and body. We transcend death, and we're eternal. And it doesn't matter what fear or what chaos is projected at us. When we know who we are, we rest in love and we rest in the arms of God, and we have everything. We're in the kingdom of heaven and we're denied nothing. We're only seemingly denied things when we are living in programs and conditions of the mind which create belief systems that we are separate and that we don't have access to those things. And whatever we believe is the version of reality we experience, because we have this creative mind which, just like God's mind, can create whatever it wants. And whatever it creates, it then experiences. So if we're living from programs and conditioning of lack, fear, separation, scarcity, then we have to endure a reality that seemingly is made of those constructs. But as we heal those and let those go and sink deeper into who we really are, into our true nature, it's like all that limitation, which is really an illusion, just starts to dissolve and melt away. And we return into this heavenly reality, which we don't have to wait until we die, until we cross over. Like, we can open our consciousness back up to who we really are whilst we're still here, and bring heaven to earth and live in the Garden of Eden on earth, because it's here right now. It's here around you. If you're not perceiving it, it's just because there are mental overlays, thought constructs that are creating an experience of lack, of fear, of separation. But all of that can be healed, all of that can be undone. And right now, it can be healed faster than ever before because it's, you know, humanity is waking up and the energies are so supportive. There's so much support for us to just shed all of this stuff that isn't our truth, that isn't true, and to reclaim who we really are. And this is my deepest passion. This is the path that I'm walking. And yeah, this is what I share. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Much love.